Joining us now on the line is Vinnie Lopes, the college volleyball insider from Off the Block, a guy who understands the game, has made his way to Chicago, and will witness in person Part 4 between BYU and Stanford tonight, featuring the National Player of the Year, Taylor Sander. Vinnie, welcome to BYU Sports Nation. This is your debut. How was the adventure to Chicago?
You know, it has been great, and, you know, it is just amazing Chicago weather here. It's about 50 degrees, raining, just completely your typical windy Chicago weather you would expect. So it's very good that this is not a beach volleyball event and that the match is going to be inside tonight.
Yeah, thank goodness. It's at Loyola Chicago Gentile Arena tonight, the semifinals. This is the first year of the expansion to 6 teams. So there were 2 matches played on Tuesday. What's the vibe in the arena and around the arena with the expansion to 6 teams?
Well, I'll tell you, everyone in the volleyball community is excited about the 6-team expansion. This is something that's been long overdue. The NCAA Tournament for men's volleyball, since it became an NCAA-sanctioned sport in 1970, had been 4 teams. So expanding it to 6 teams was a move in the right direction. Everyone was excited about it. But, you know, the real interesting thing that these matches have created is it's really a major incentive for teams now to get those top 2 seeds and get the bye, so you don't have that so your semifinal match on Thursday gives you a little extra time to rest. So a great example right now, you have Stanford. They're going to be playing their 4th match in a span of 8 days, where BYU's going to be well rested, going on 4 days rest. So it's really a big incentive for a team like BYU to get that bye, and so they're going to be a little bit more well rested than Stanford.
Vinnie Lopes, editor of Off the Block, college volleyball insider. There's always the discussion of, well, is it more difficult to beat a team 4 times, or if you've already beaten them 3 times, do you have that mental advantage? And you mentioned the rest that BYU will have over Stanford. What do you read into that setup in terms of BYU getting ready to face the Cardinal for a 4th time?
Yeah, you know, I had a great opportunity yesterday during media day to ask both coaches. I think the thing that I get from both of them is they're just sick of playing each other right now. Play each other so much. But, you know, the real interesting thing with Stanford, you know, I had an opportunity to sit in their practice, and they are so loose, so relaxed right now. You know, they're really viewing this as an opportunity to, you know, get revenge for their 3 losses against BYU. And, you know, I think the big thing for them as well is, you know, this match is in Smith Fieldhouse. It's going to be on a neutral court. And, you know, BYU's been a little bit of a different team this year away from Smith Fieldhouse.
7-8, a losing record away from the Smith Fieldhouse, in fact. So I'm really scared of this match, honestly, from the BYU perspective, because it took a tremendous effort to win close at home. What do you think BYU has to do to beat Stanford for a 4th time on a neutral court?
Yeah, you know, I think it's going to come down to the play of Taylor Sander. And historically, this is a player, we talk about how great he's been, but he has really loved playing against Stanford. In 3 of the last 6 matches against the Cardinals, he's had more than 20 kills. And really the only reason he didn't have 20 kills in those other 3 matches is because they were 3-game victories for BYU. So he has played absolutely lights out against them. But, you know, I really think the key for BYU is going to be, can they get contributions from the other players? Can Jose Rivera step up and really force some Stanford blockers to commit to him so they're not all converging on Sander? And then, you know, the other question is going to be the play of the new Sarah Robbie said, you know, how is he going to be able to perform in a big environment like this when he sat on the bench for most of the season and came in very admirably, played fantastic in the MPSF tournament?
Vinnie Lopes, editor of Off the Block, college volleyball expert, joining BYU Sports Nation with Spencer Linton and Jerem Jordan. You mentioned how Stanford is loose right now, how they seem relaxed. They're viewing this as an opportunity to get back at BYU. They got swept by BYU after winning 13 consecutive matches. Does that not factor into their mentality at least a little bit, with that in the back of their mind, that, wow, this is a really good team we're going up against?
You know, common sense would say yes, it would factor in. But, you know, in talking to their coach Costa, you know, they really viewed it as, you know, most of those games were 20-20. They could have gone either way. So they're viewing it as, hey, if we clean up some of our mistakes, if we don't serve balls out of bounds, which they likely won't do as much in this facility because it's a little bit lower altitude as opposed to the altitude advantage that BYU has, you know, they're viewing this as an opportunity that if they make those simple adjustments, they're going to get on the other side of those 23-25 victories.
We just need the NCAA tournament to be in Provo. That's what we need. Vinnie Lopes
You know,
off the block.
I was pushing for it. It was a finalist, actually. One of the finalists
and they didn't
recently,
get it.
and they didn't get it, which was disappointing because I'll tell you, you guys have without doubt one of the greatest fan environments, not only in college men's volleyball, but just in college sports in general. And I'd love to get a decibel reader in Smith Fieldhouse next year to see how loud it is in there because you got to wear earplugs in there just for safety purposes.
Yeah, luckily I have the headphones on for the broadcast during, so I'm not exposed to that as much. But Vinnie Lopes from Off the Block, check that out on the internet for men's volleyball coverage is on BYU Sports Nation. I'm interested to get your opinion on this. Who is the favorite at the tournament? Because Loyola Chicago is the number 1 seed they're hosting, yet BYU is the number 1 team, considered by many maybe the best team in the country. Who's the favorite?
You know, this is a really interesting question because there just doesn't feel like there's a favorite right now. You know, you can look at all 4 of these teams left, whether it's BYU, Stanford, Penn State, or Loyola, and realistically, you know, you could make an argument for any team to win. You know, personally, I think the winner of the NCAA tournament is going to come out of this BYU-Stanford match, but it wouldn't shock me if any of these 4 teams are lifting the trophy on Saturday.
Vinnie Lopes of Off the Block, we appreciate the time. Enjoy Chicago. And, you know, I wish we could transfer BYU Sports Nation karma. In fact, let's do that. Let's go ahead and give it to Vinnie Lopes so that he has his A-game on tonight covering it for Off the Block.
Well, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Vinnie.
Thanks, guys.